All right, good evening and welcome to the program. This is Monday Night News. Now, we begin with a story of the hunter turned hunted, and the Director of Criminal Investigations Department, Ndegwa Muhoro, is denying any interference in the multi-billion shilling Tatu City project. Muhoro has been accused of sending two conflicting investigation files to the Director of Public Prosecutions, something he is totally denying. The Tatu project saga is currently in a matter of court. KTN's crime and investigations reporter Dennis Onsarigo begins our coverage tonight from there.
The country's top investigators turned from the hunter to the hunted. Ndegwa Muhoro, the man at the helm of the National Police Service's Criminal Investigations Department, has been fending off allegations ranging from his position as the director of the CID to those of interfering with investigations his officers have been carrying out. Ndegwa Muhoro has been fingered as the man whose office sent two sets of conflicting investigations files and recommendations to the Director of Public Prosecutions over the Tatu project, now a subject of a court case.
No, I will not take any question. I mean, let's agree from the front, from front, okay?
But several institutions and individuals have been asking questions.
The matters were investigated and the file forwarded to the Director of Public Prosecution in September 2016, seeking for legal advice, specifically on six points. We were seeking for legal advice. I want to mention that we never made any recommendation on any side who was culpable and who was not.
The Independent Police Oversight Authority that oversights what Muhoro's men do have since revealed Ndegwa Muhoro was appointed as the director of the CID despite recommendations that is not fit to hold office.
As far as my professional qualifications and ability to head the directorate is concerned, I would like to remind those whose memories might probably have failed them that I underwent a thorough vetting process by the National Police Service Commission as mandated by the relevant acts.
Ndegwa is also at the center of the National Youth Service scandal, where his officer Peter Mugwanja, the head of the banking fraud unit, is accused of taking away 80 million shillings, part of the 791 shillings stolen during the scandal.
They are an attack on my ability to carry out my duties, an attack on my professional qualifications, an attack on my integrity, and when viewed as a whole, an attack on the entire Directorate of Criminal Investigations.
Muhoro says there is a deliberate campaign to drag him down the trench of baseless allegations.
I wish to say no more. Asante sana.
Ndegwa Muhoro said he will institute legal proceedings in a series of allegations that have exposed the underbelly of the country's corruption-riddled investigations agency. Denson Sarigo, KTN News.
All right, just exactly how did we get here? And this is the sequence of events. The Director of Criminal Investigations, DCI, is accused of deliberately having sent two different files to the Director of Public Prosecutions, that's the DPP, with conflicting recommendations of a multi-billion land ownership saga as a Tatu City. Now, the DPP directed that the matter involving the 5.3 billion shillings worth of land that had been earmarked for development be discussed in the full next meeting of the multi-agency meeting team that's called MAT. Now, Tobiko says in the two inquiry files, the DCI makes diametrically conflicting, opposed and irreconcilable findings and recommendations. The first inquiry file, number 77/2015, looked into the allegations of fraudulent change and or transfers of shares, shareholding and directorship of Purple Saturn Properties Limited. However, the second inquiry, number 40/2015, was about Purple Saturn Properties Limited. Nashon Nyaga and others, Lawyer Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi has questioned the integrity of the investigation in respect of the matter in question and further made grave allegations against the person and conduct of the DCI. Now, the said file was filed to the DPP with recommendations that 8 suspects, including Mr. Nashon Nyaga, be charged in court. They, however, went to court to block their prosecution. It was, however, not established how the DCI conducted another parallel investigation that later exonerated Mr. Nyaga and his co-accused. Well, Kenya could lose out on a multi-billion shilling pipe project after the neighboring country decided to explore the Tanzanian route to construct the oil pipeline. Now, this was the subject of talks between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his Ugandan counterpart, President Yoweri Museveni, who jetted to the country earlier today. Now, the issue will once again be reviewed in 2 weeks' time. KTN's Joy Dorinbira has been following this development and now joins us from our city center studios. Joy, what can you tell us?
Thanks a lot, James. Well, anything regarding the Kenya-Uganda pipeline deal, I guess, is one that is driving a lot of conversation around the country for those parties that do matter in this case. Now, just a bit of a history about this whole deal. It just so happened that in 2013, when the LAPSET project was rolled out, it was geared towards ensuring improved trade amongst the East African countries, excluding Tanzania. And this was involving countries like Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, and South Sudan. And then as a complement to this LAPSET project, in 2015, Uganda and Kenya agreed to have a pipeline constructed that will run through Kenya and go all the way to Uganda, that is in the Lake Albert region where Uganda's oil deposits are, or oil reserves are. Now, what happened is that this doesn't seem to have been the case, as 2 months later, Uganda now went ahead to have a memorandum of understanding with Tanzania as well to review, or rather explore, options of whether or not it would also be ideal to have this pipeline deal, or pipeline rather, constructed through Tanzania, that is the Tanga route going all the way to Hoima in Uganda. And Kenya has not really taken this very simply, as Kenya stands to benefit from the pipeline deal should it be constructed, or should the pipeline run through Kenya's territory. Now, Uganda playing double standards in this case is something that I think Kenya is not going to take very lightly, but it's also an issue that Uganda really needs to critically look into, because the decision that Uganda makes in this pipeline deal is likely to have an impact on several other projects that are jointly being worked on between Uganda, Kenya, and other East African countries. James.
Well, Joy Dorinbira there. Joy, just one final question for me, because Kenyans are asking, why is this even important to Kenyans? Why do we need it?
All right. If I actually got that right, now what happened today is that President Uhuru Kenyatta and President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni of Uganda as well did meet at State House Nairobi, and a number of issues that they agreed upon to also, review the options. Now, Kenya did offer Uganda a number of options that you might have seen on the screen, and one of them was to ensure that they were making a least cost decision. One, that if they chose to go with Kenya, then these were going to be the cost implications, and if they decided to go with Tanzania as well, then there were going to be some other implications to that as well. The other option was to have the pipeline as well be looped to Turkana from Nakuru. That is one of the other options that Kenya did give to Uganda as well. Now, what's going to happen is that there's not much of a decision that was made today, but in the next 2 weeks, when the next Northern Corridor meeting is going to happen, that's when Uganda is likely to give feedback on the options that were given to Uganda by Kenya in this case. And as you can see, one of the other options is ensuring and assessing, as well as confirming the current proven reserves, which will have an impact on the size of the pipeline as well, among other issues. Also, the viability of the ports of Lamu, Mombasa, as well as Hoima, and that is one issue that I think is very critical right now that we are looking at regarding the pipeline deal. Now, should Uganda decide to go with Tanzania, this is likely to impact the other projects that Kenya and Uganda are jointly working on, and that will also involve the standard gauge railway and the other infrastructure projects that these countries are jointly working on. But one issue that has come out of these conversations and negotiations between Kenya and Uganda is that, Uganda seems to be in a bit of a mix, not so sure which country is more viable, but we can also see that there was a disagreement between the oil companies, that is Tullow Oil coming forward and saying that, you know, it's much cheaper to have the pipeline run through Kenya's territory, and Total, that is France's Total as well, is coming up and saying that it is safer to have the pipeline go through Tanzania for you know, risks associated to insecurity as well as ethnic violence and unpredictable elections in 2017 and 2022. But these are all options that are being put out by the oil companies. It is a very political issue as it is economic, that the decision that Uganda makes in this case is going to impact both Kenya and Uganda as well as Tanzania in different ways. James.
Joy Doreen Bira, thank you very much for that update. 2 weeks, and we might sit again and see what Uganda decides. Thank you very much. All right, we are not yet there, but we are doing everything to make things work. Now, this was the underlying theme that came out from almost all the cabinet secretaries who took part in the Jubilee scorecard presentations that have been ongoing since last week. Cabinet secretaries for devolution, water, industrialization and tourism took time to defend their achievements in office as the Jubilee government marked 3 years in power. KTN's Abiagina has a breakdown of some of the milestones achieved vis-a-vis the pledges and challenges.
One after the other, cabinet secretaries serving under President Uhuru Kenyatta's government in what has now become ceremonial took to the stage to lay bare what they have achieved while in office.
78% of Kenyans are saying we are in the right track and we must go on with the devolution. That is an increase of 10% from the previous survey that had been conducted. And that means that the government, for this survey to come out, is that the government has really worked out. It is doing its level best to ensure that the devolution succeeds.
A lot of work has been done. More needs to be done, but there's clarity in what needs to be achieved by when. As a country, we don't have a lot of natural resources, minerals, oil, like many other countries around the world have. The biggest asset that we have today are the young people and the intellectual property of our people that we have in the country.
In 2014, we had 44,000 people who attended conferences in Kenya. 2015, we had 77,000. So you could see there's a major increase, and most of our numbers that we have seen has been increased because of conferencing. And last year, December, we held the WTO. You have seen almost 4,000 people arrived here internationally. 2016, we are going to have 2 major conferences, apart from many others. A conference from UNCTAD, which is in July. 8,000 people are coming in. And then we have TICAD, which is the Japanese Summit for Africa, which is, again, we are expecting number of heads of states from the continent, and the Prime Minister of Japan is going to come here and discuss about the economic participation of Japan with Africa.
Whereas there were some key milestones attained, failure to meet certain pledges such as having a fully devolved government and a vibrant tourism industry came to the fore.
These 47 county governments are drawing their funds from the national government, meaning those governors are working for the government and they're working for the governors for the government. So Kenyans must be educated. But for the first time, we are all in the government. It's about now oversight, but we are all in the government.
In its manifesto, the Jubilee government promised to set up special economic zones as well as create 1 million jobs every year, a promise that has remained elusive.
Trial and error, some things have been a success, others have failed.
The future of job growth will remain in the small and medium-sized enterprises, be they micro, be they informal, and we just need to make sure that we can grow that. And over time, these small businesses will actually, become more formal, become medium-sized, and then become bigger businesses at some stage in future.
Observers have faulted the Jubilee administration for not delivering on some of its flagship projects, such as the free laptops for schools, as well as construction of 5 modern sports complexes.
It will take the leadership if you're a CS, if you're a PS, tell the president the truth. You know, there are some times that we try to sugarcoat issues. I think the president is in the business of wanting this country to be revived.
I expect by end of the year, we will see major results in that.
With just under 2 years before the next general elections, it will be an uphill task for the Kenyatta-led government to work round the clock to deliver on its promises. For now, Kenyans can only but wait for results. Abi Agina, KTN News.
The next big story, and that is the Okoa Kenya story. And yes, today the Coalition of Reform and Democracy has gone through and asked the IEBC to go ahead and release the signatures. But this is where we are. The IEBC indeed had put together a team of about 100 clerks and 25 supervisors who had embarked on the process of scrutinizing signatures compiled by the Okoa Kenya team for the draft bill on the referendum to amend the law through popular initiative. The team is working with a budget of around 20 million shillings. But the IEBC had indicated that they would need more clerks to ensure that their work is done within a very short time. Now, Okoa Kenya presented about 1.4 million signatures. Now, Jubilee, on the other side, claims that they have credible information that the signatures submitted to the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission were fictitious. Edan Duale said that the Okoa Kenya initiative to amend constitution should not be transmitted to county assemblies after verification that's by the Constitutional Commission. The threshold to establish legality of the signature, Jubilee wants IEBC to publish all 1.4 million signatures submitted by code in the local dailies with national circulation and the commission constituency offices. Richard Nina now brings us the story of exactly what the code team is asking the IEBC.
After a bounced date with the IEBC on Tuesday last week, the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy is stepping up pressure on the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission over the verification of signatures in the coalition's Okoa Kenya referendum drive.
Tumechoka kungoja na kusubiri IEBC.
CORD in November last year presented to the IEBC 1.4 million signatures in its popular drive to amend the constitution. The IEBC gave itself a self-imposed deadline of 90 days to verify the signatures. The 90 days came and went. On the 16th of last month, the electoral body asked for 10 days to complete the exercise. 24 days later, there is no progress from IEBC's end.
IEBC must give us the answer now or tell us whether what we heard from Jubilee is indeed their answer.
Several Jubilee leaders, led by Majority Leader in the National Assembly, Edan Duale, have termed as fake the Okoa Kenya signatures.
Those signatures are not genuine.
Jubilee leaders have indicated that they will seek to have the IEBC publish the signatures, and CORD is accusing Jubilee of influencing the IEBC to frustrate the referendum drive.
We know that Jubilee leaders are putting the IEBC under pressure to reject our initiative.
So we are telling IEBC that they must not allow themselves to be the vehicle of the Jubilee.
Jubilee leaders have also been questioning the threshold of the signatures. The Constitution requires 1 million signatures to amend the law by popular initiative.
The IEBC knows the signatures were submitted, were valid and more than adequate for the referendum.
With no response from the IEBC, CORD is now exploring its options on the Okoa Kenya initiative.
We shall use all constitutional, parliamentary and extra-parliamentary means to stop the IEBC from corrupting the desire of the people.
The Okoa Kenya initiative seeks a raft of amendments to, among other things, ensure electoral and land reforms and the devolution of more funds to the counties. But with the IEBC non-committal on the way forward, CORD has a challenge to ensure its Okoa Kenya wagon does not lose steam. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
And this has been something that has been ongoing for a while. But let me tell you where the bottleneck is. And Jubilee claims that they have credible information that the signatures submitted to the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission were indeed fictitious. That's what Jubilee is claiming. But Eden Duale says that the Okoa Kenya initiative to amend the constitution should not be transmitted to county assemblies after verification by the commission. That's obviously holding on this fictitious claim that the Jubilee claims to have had about this. What the Jubilee is cautioning is that the doing so would not meet the constitutional threshold to establish legality of the signature. Jubilee continuing with that claim, saying that they want IBC to publish all 1.4 million signatures submitted by code in the local dailies with the national circulation and the commission constituency offices. That is what Jubilee is claiming. That is what they want. I'm now be able to join on phone by the CEO of IBC, Mr. Ezra Chiloba. All right, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening to you, Smart.
Right. As it is, you're a man who is being pushed from both sides, if you like. Code is saying that you need to release these names as soon as yesterday. IBC says, Jubilee says you should not even make an attempt to do that because they have information that these fictitious. Where are we?
Well, it's been a month since we started carrying out the verification exercise, especially after National Treasury allocated to us resources sometimes in January. And where we are now, we are saying we are finalizing the report, and anytime this week you should be able to hear from us in terms of where we stand. So we should be communicating to the country on the process and the findings. Yeah.
Because the question that let me ask what Jubilee is talking about. They're saying that if you go ahead and release this, you would not very clear about what verification is. Because the question then is, what exactly was the IBC verifying? Were you verifying that the people who have code has put the names, are they registered voters? Or are you verifying that these people actually, I assume James Match in that list? How do you find out that I have actually signed up for this? What exactly does that verification mean?
Well, the Article 257.4 talks about verifying that the signatures of supporters belong to the 1 million potential, 1 million registered voters. Well, our job has been, first of all, to ensure that we look at the data presented to us, and then take it through the process of ensuring that or confirming that the alleged supporters are registered voters. Yeah, so ours has been to look at the list presented to us, run through and compare it with the existing register of voters.
Because does what Jubilee is asking there hold water, saying that in their understanding or the interpretation of this whole thing is the verification should be of the database of the signatures so that you can somehow figure out that the people who have been presented there, either one, signed up for it, and two, you have some sort of reaching them to actually confirm that I, voter XYZ, I sign up for Okoa Kenya?
Well, so far we do not have what we call a referendum law that goes into the specifics in terms of how the verification should be done. But we'll be looking at best practices around the world, which are providing guidance in terms of what needs to be done, which includes, for example, you do a sampling to ensure that those people who are alleged to be supporting the initiative are actually the ones who are signing on. So that's one way. It's not just the issue of publishing. It's not easy to publish 1 million signatures. And that's why many countries use a different method of confirming. So we have a detailed report which we'll be able to share with the country and perhaps also form a good basis of how such processes should be undertaken in future.
All right, I'm asking you one final question. Do you foresee any troubles, any problems, any hiccups as this process goes on? Because I say we don't have a referendum law. That is one. There's all these loopholes that either political party could exploit. Do you foresee hiccups in the future?
In future, if this becomes of handling the process, because there are many queries that you have to raise even as you go through the process. And I think the current situation presents to us the best case in terms of the baseline to review some of our laws to strengthen these processes.
All right, Ezra Chiloba, CEO IBC, thank you very much for watching KTN, and thank you very much for dropping a line and talking to us. Well, we'd like to take a very short break. This is Monday Night News. Thank you for staying with us. We have plenty more on this other side of the break. Don't go too far. All right, welcome back to Monday Night News. Now to some breaking news right now, and an accident involving a minibus and a bus just right outside Panari Hotel has just 2 people have been confirmed dead and 1 seriously injured after a minibus and a bus collided at Panari a short moments ago. Once again, an accident involving a minibus and a bus outside Panari on Mombasa Road, along Mombasa Road, involving a minibus and a bus. 2 people have been confirmed dead and 1 person has been seriously injured. That accident that just occurred a few short moments ago. We'll be bringing you up to speed with anything that we learn from it. But for the final time and one time that 2 people have been confirmed dead and 1 seriously injured at Panari on Mombasa Road after a bus and a minibus got involved in a head-on collision. We'll have more details for you in this bulletin. Now, is the political ground in the Rift Valley region shifting against the ruling Jubilee coalition? Will the political differences between Deputy President William Ruto and Baringo Senator Gideon Moi split the presidential votes in the rich vote Rift Valley region come the 2017 general election? Now, well, according to political pundits, the Jubilee leadership should fulfill their promises as well as mend their differences between elected leaders from the region so as to ensure that the votes from the region are under lock and key. Chris Dairo has more on the rift within the Rift Valley region in this week's edition of Spotlight 2017.
The slightly more than 3 million votes in the larger Rift Valley region have been the subject of supremacy battles between several so-called kingpins of the Rift. Battles that saw Deputy President William Ruto pitch tent in Kericho for days in the hunt for votes. The just concluded Kericho senatorial by-election brought to the limelight the widening cracks that continue to emerge within the Rift Valley, pitting elected leaders from the region. Although the ruling Jubilee coalition won the Kericho seat in a hotly contested race with Kanu, it renewed the bitter rivalry between Deputy President William Ruto and Baringo Senator Gideon Moi.
Kenya will be built by people who have ideas. And if you don't agree with the ideas we have, tell the country alternative ideas.
Na uzitishe sisi, tafadhali, uzitutishe, uzi. Na wengine wanasema ati 2017 vile walifanya Kericho ndio watafanya sasa kwa Rift Valley. Utakutana na wanaume sasa.
The growing rebellion within the Rift Valley region, analysts say, should be tamed early enough, or else it will cost the ruling Jubilee coalition at the ballot come the 2017 general election.
The divide is growing further, in that whereas the 2 strands, URP and KANU, were coagulated eventually under the umbrella of Jubilee, what is happening is that the numbers within KANU have swollen.
Unlike 2013, when William Ruto basically had Kalenjin land under lock and key, going into 2017, as of now, that is not the case.
Ujue hivyo.
Differences between elected leaders in the Rift Valley region leave Baringo Senator Gideon Moi in a catch-22 situation. On one hand, he opposes the leadership skills of the deputy president, while on the other hand, he has no issues with President Uhuru Kenyatta. KANU is an affiliate of Jubilee in a post-election deal signed with the ruling coalition.
Their real political enemy is not the president. Their real political enemy is the deputy president. He's the one who stands on their way. And if the camaraderie between the president and the deputy president continues, then it means that Gideon Moi has to be in the shadows of William Ruto until he falls by the wayside. I think that the reason people like Gideon Moi have not talked about the presidency is that they still support President Uhuru Kenyatta. I think that cannot be in doubt. Uhuru Kenyatta was first floated by the retired President Daniel Arap Moi.
During the two-day visit by President Kenyatta and his deputy to Nakuru and Baringo counties, Baringo Senator Gideon Moi and his older brother Rongai MP Raymond Moi were the only elected leaders who skipped the tour. According to political analyst, retired President Daniel Moi should not
Right, we do apologize for that minor hitch, but as I informed you earlier, at least 2 people have been confirmed dead on Mombasa Road just this evening, and 1 person has been injured after a minibus that was heading towards Imaradaima did veer road. These are the latest picture from Mombasa Road, where at least 2 people have been confirmed dead and 1 person seriously injured. What we do know right now is that the minibus was trying to avoid crashing into another speeding vehicle, and it veered off the road and therefore turning, causing the accident. 2 people have been killed. That's the picture of that bus that has been involved in an accident just this evening. For now, we'd just like to take a very short break, so we'll come back with the latest of the business news with our very own Abi Agina. Don't go too far.
Well, a very good evening and welcome to KTN Business News. My name is Abi Agina. Uchumi Supermarkets has terminated 5 operational outlets in Kenya as part of its reorganization strategy. According to a statement sent to newsrooms by Uchumi, the closure of Taj Mall, Embu, Eldoret, Sugarland, Nakuru and Kisii branches will reduce the retailer's operational costs, enabling it to concentrate its efforts on a leaner structure as dictated by the current business environment. The statement further indicated that the troubled retailer has adhered to all required legal and statutory requirements in implementation of the decision, and 253 positions will be rendered redundant. And now to a developing story where the CBK Monetary Policy Committee met today in what was expected to be a resetting of the lending rate, but contrary to some analysts' predictions stayed the central bank rates at 11.5%. The committee has emphasized the need for commercial banks to reduce interest rates to allow access of credit in the market. The Monetary Policy Committee, that has contained pressure on the currency in the last 3 months, says current inflationary pressures were temporary and therefore not warranting an upward revision of the lending rates. The committee said that the planned reduction in government expenditures should continue to ease pressures on domestic borrowing and interest rates, boosted by the approval of the IMF precautionary loan to shield the economy from exogenous shocks. Well, regarding the MPC, we now want to take a look at how the financial markets performed. The shilling still holding steady. Here is more on the markets. Well, and with the financial market report, that's how we wrap up KTN Business tonight. My name is Abi Agina. Let's link up tomorrow. Have a restful evening.
Indeed, a very good evening and a warm welcome to tonight's edition of KTN Sports. My name is Lynn Washira, and the bulletin kicks off with matters athletics, where Kenyan athletes wrapped up the World Indoor Championships without a win in any of the races they competed in. The best Kenyan results were 2 bronze medals by Augustine Choge and Margaret Nyairera in the 3,000 meters and 800 meters respectively. The United States closed the World Indoor Athletics Championships with another gold rush and a record medal standings on Sunday, while Ethiopia emerged from the doping shadows and into the spotlight by dominating the distance events. Ethiopia's Genzebe Dibaba and Yomif Kejalcha interrupted the American assault on the podium, taking gold in the men's and women's 3,000 meters before the Portland party shifted into an overdrive, with the U.S. closing out the 4-day meeting with victories in the women's high jump, men's 1,500 meters and long jump, and both the 4x400 meters relays. The United States finished as the runaway leader at the top of the medal table with 23, smashing the old mark of 19, while claiming 13 gold as many of the rest of the world combined. Ethiopia was a distant second with the 2 gold and 5 medals. No other country had more than 1 gold. And to some golf news now, the organizers of this year's Kenya Open Golf Challenge have termed this year's tournament a success and are calling on more Kenyans to join the sport in the country. They're hoping to see more Kenyan youngsters take part in the sport as part of grooming them for the future of the sport.
Swedish golfer Sebastian Soderberg hit his winning shot in the Kenya Open Golf Challenge to secure the 2016 title after failing to make the cut last year. One thing stood out at the end. The underlying difference in quality between Kenyan golfers and their invited opponents could not go unnoticed, as Kenya's best golfer at the tournament, Dismas Indiza, finished 38th, while a big number failed to make the cut as Kenya's search for the title in 22 years faded away yet again.
We want in the future to ensure that at least 2 Kenyans participate in all the Challenge Tour events. We have negotiated with Challenge Tour, and they will be inviting Kenyans so that they have the international exposure.
They need to go out there and play in other courses and play in other championships so that they can get the experience.
Majority of the visiting players in the tournament were between the ages of 20 and 25 as compared to the Kenyan players who have been playing golf for a longer time. It's finally a wake-up call for the Kenya Golf Union to invest in building up younger players for the future.
But our professionals, in fact most of them are now seniors. So we must start from the grassroots, from our youth, and then we come up to the ranks.
We are encouraging the juniors as well to really start early. We are asking the parents, start early with the pros, because the clubs have given this facility.
The Kenya Open is encouraging more Kenyans to join the sport of golf, while at the same time disputing the perception that the sport belongs to a particular class in society.
I think it's a wrong perception, because golf is a sport like any other sport, and I think you have to create interest in wanting to play golf. It's not a joke, it's not for the faint-hearted, and I think it's the only sport in the world that you really compete against yourself.
Kenya had a total of 22 pros and 4 amateurs in this year's challenge, but only 3 made the cut. Robinson Okoa, KTN Sports.
Thank you very much for your company the whole night. That has been Monday Night News. Thank you very much for your feedback and keeping us company on Twitter and on television. We hope to do this all over again. Same station, same time. My name is James Smart.